3 dads, 3 original movies, 3 prequel movies, 3 sequel movies, and a lot to cover in a galaxy far, far away. A long, long time ago, on a previous podcast, we took some of our favorite movies, characters, and stories and analyzed the themes of fatherhood in that medium. In this episode, we're tackling the saga from a galaxy far, far away. That's right, Star Wars. Welcome to 3 Dimensional Dads.
3 friends, all geeks, exploring every dimension of being a dad.
I'm Jay.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Ian.
And we're the 3 Dimensional Dads. Yay!
Well,
that's right.
hey!
This is where the applause would come in if we had a live studio audience. Well, this is the first in our series, Dads on Screen, or DOS, for those of you who are computer geeks. We thought that was clever. And we're covering Star Wars, which is, of course, the holy trilogy. But now there's 9 movies, plus 2 additional movies, plus another movie, plus a series, plus another series, plus cartoons. So there's a whole Star Wars universe to cover. But us
Trilogy
old
of
guys,
trilogies.
a trilogy of trilogies. So that's 3 squared. Or no, that's 3 cubed, which is 9.
Yes.
I'm not a math teacher. But we're going to cover the original kind of trilogy arc from the prequels through the sequels of that which we all cut our teeth on as kids, Star Wars. So,
Yes.
Getting right into it. My job, cover the prequels. And as I get older, as I get more mature in my age, ergo the gray hair, I find more and more that I like the prequels, especially when I compare them to the sequels. That is, I think, for most Star Wars geeks, that is it. So we see a ton of fatherhood stuff going on in here. Number one, the first thing in the film, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. This is a very patriarchal relationship, given the circumstances, right? So blood doesn't equal family. The way of the Jedi Order is to take children almost in their infancy and bring them to the Jedi Order and put them with a master to train, okay? So we have Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, a very dad-teen relationship, and they've obviously been together for a long time. We see throughout The Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan trying to kind of fulfill Qui-Gon's expectations, but also question him surrounding whether or not to take Anakin with them to Coruscant. It's a very cool relationship, and that final scene where Qui-Gon dies is you see the loss of a father in Obi-Wan. Ewan McGregor, obviously great actor.
Gets me every time.
Yes.
And of course, that then transfers. Obi-Wan takes on Anakin as a Padawan, but in a way that's more problematic because Anakin's already kind of old as far as Jedi standards go. He has grown up on Tatooine. He has been a slave. He's had life experience. He has memories of his mother, which in Attack of the Clones become very problematic. They're more contemporaries. I feel like it's an older brother, younger brother relationship, and it's not that traditional Jedi relationship. That's kind of father and son. Unlike Jango and Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones, we have that traditional kind of father and son relationship. I know it's a little bit of, father, donor, son, clone, but it's probably the most traditional relationship we have. It's a single dad trying to get his kid into the family business. Now that family business might just be bounty hunting, but it's still the family business, right?
With jetpacks.
The jetpacks are cool. I wish I had one. Finally, I think the best relationship in all of the prequels, and we see it start in Phantom Menace and we see it come to its climax in Revenge of the Sith, is Palpatine and Anakin. And this, I think, in the absence of Anakin having a true father figure, right? Because Shmi was she just kind of conceived without a father, right? Palpatine is that father figure to Anakin, and he pulls Anakin away from his Jedi responsibilities. He's pushing him to kind of emulate him eventually becoming evil, right? Anakin's torn between that Jedi responsibility, his marriage to Padme, him having the kids, his affinity for Padme, and one has to go, and I think it's the good side we all see that has to go, and dads can't do it all. I think that's where I kind of really feel for Anakin, right? He wants to do it all. He wants to save his wife. He wants to raise his kids. He wants to protect the galaxy, but he can't do it all. And unfortunately, that means falling to the dark side.
Yeah, talk about like emotional manipulation, though. Jeez.
The Tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Come on.
I can save your wife.
A little bit of guilt.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
She will die without my help. So I can't really do a Palpatine impression, but I think anyone who's seen the movie has gotten it.
I like better when you do like, I'm afraid the generator will be quite operational. I like when you do that one.
Yeah. I'm afraid the deflector shield will be quite operational when your friends arrive.
Hey, you're jumping into my territory here. Why don't you just take it over then? Well, we all know what happens. I mean, of course, at the end of the prequel trilogies, we see the splitting up of Padme's children. So something that I thought that really doesn't get touched upon, that really, if you're talking about fatherhood, you're talking about the tough job about being a dad. Owen, Lars, and Luke, right? So Owen is bestowed this child, unexpectedly, right? And him and Maru need to like take care of Luke, this kid who has all these Jedi powers that wants to be, have his head in the clouds. And just imagine having that tough job of being that person, right? He's got to be the less glamorous dad of all. He's got to do the hard things like, nope, you can't eat your dinner until you do your chores. You can't go hang out with your friends unless you get that done with. Go back and drink your green milk, right, or your blue milk.
I always wonder if there's some parallel with Superman. It's like, Ma and Pa Kent have like Kal-El who has all these superpowers and they have to raise him to be a good person. They always wonder if there's some kind of parallel there.
Yeah. By the way, your charge can maybe eventually take over the universe.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Owen has to keep Luke grounded, right, on the farm, and leaves this boy, stagnant and stifled, right? He just wants to be out in the universe. I mean, imagine being that person, being in charge, just like you're saying, right? That like Superman's parents, right? Can you imagine being, Clark Kent's parents? I mean, it's just ridiculous in a lot of ways. But we see this, come to fruition too, like how protective Owen is, and not to like move away from the trilogies at all. But, they touched upon this when they had the Kenobi series, right? That there were Jedi, there were Sith that were tracking him down, that, that knew that he was the son of Anakin Skywalker, and they were trying to hunt him down. And Owen was the protector. He was the person that was trying to, help make sure that Luke's, future was ensured, that he had to keep him there, keep him going.
By the way, Luke, stay away from that crazy old man in the white van. Says free lightsabers on the side.
Yeah.
I think that was, you're right. That was one of Owen's toughest things. Like, he had to keep Obi-Wan away from Luke in order to not trigger Luke into kind of finding out about the Jedi and stuff. He's stuck on this backward planet,
It just brings the reality of fatherhood in a lot of ways. It's not glamorous all the time, right? There isn't a lot about personal glory. I mean, or doing the most popular thing, right? You have to eat your Brussels sprouts sometimes, and Owen is the dad figure that has to do that to Luke. Very much so.
Yeah, I think that the nature versus nurture thing is that, like, Owen knows what Luke is capable of. He saw Anakin. He saw what, right, like, this is a serious power in the universe. And so he nurtures him to give him that moral compass, like Ma and Pa Kent, who tried to raise Kal-El to be a good human, a good person.
Yeah. Anakin killed a bunch of sand people.
So I was about to say, right?
People. Yep.
Like, we don't need Luke going out and massacring like a family of Jawas, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And of course, there's the most obvious fatherhood relationship. Everyone's jaw that dropped when they saw The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, I was very little when this happened, but no one could believe that Darth Vader could possibly be Luke's father. Because at that point, Vader is the antithesis of being a father. He's corrupt. He's the opposite of what you would think of in a fatherhood figure, right? He's cruel. He's selfish. He's manipulative. Everything he does to Luke to make him try to come to the dark side, feel your power. Obi-Wan has taught you, but, your truth lies with me. All of those things that he does to manipulate him, to go against his friends. And then the Emperor, you see this happen right in the throne room, like we were just talking about before. Oh, you want this? Everything is this chess game that they are playing to control Luke. until finally, we see Vader at the end commit the ultimate sacrifice because he sees his son threatened. He sees, his son makes the correct choice, and the Emperor says, well, now you're going to die. And then finally, Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker, he steps to the plate and he learns from his mistakes to make sure that his son lives, to get his son out of trouble and to protect him from the Emperor. And that's the ultimate dad sacrifice.
Because blood is thicker than midichlorians.
Yes. Sure. Or the dark side, or however you want to put it.
Right? All right, so if we're moving on to the sequel trilogy, that's my trilogy. And since this is the third trilogy, I'm going to go into like grandfatherhood on top of it. And I think we kind of learned that from, the prequel trilogy, the point where they didn't let Jedi have kids was probably a good, so they might have been onto something there, because in the sequel trilogy, everyone's killing all sorts of dads, and it doesn't go well for the Jedi dads around here. Which Han Solo, we're going to spoiler alert right off the bat. So Kylo Ren kills Han Solo, which, I thought Kylo was a really interesting character. I thought it was so metal when he opens up the movie and he's like talking to Darth Vader's melted helmet. He's like, grandfather, like family heirlooms, right? That's right. So awesome. But then I thought there's, Kylo has this interesting nature versus nurture thing, like with Luke, is that he was trained by, we find out later that he was trained in Luke's Jedi school. And at what age was Kylo taken from his parents? Because Luke had Owen. Luke had that conflict in him and had darkness in him, but he had Owen as that source of like grounding him and helping him deal with his emotions. He's frustrated, but like his uncle helps him. Where, Kylo had Luke. Maybe he needed Han. Maybe he didn't want to be taken off to be trained as a Jedi, and Luke has not been the most emotionally available guy. He's the one who's raising Kylo, essentially. So I wonder that nature versus nurture thing. His parents are the two heroes of the galaxy, Han and Leia. You'd think that Kylo automatically is going to be this amazing hero. So the fact that he's evil, maybe that's a nature thing. He was born like that. Maybe don't train him. We learned that from Anakin Skywalker. Didn't go well when they were like, I don't know, he's kind of mad. Don't give him the Force like that. And then we move on to Kylo and Snoke. So, which turns out to be Palpatine, but we're just, we're taking a movie at a time. Snoke, I think, is another example of a really bad dad. He's very a typical abusive, narcissistic parent. So he uses, emotional manipulation and abuse to control Kylo. He's always belittling him. Like everything he calls him is like, my very young apprentice. He calls him all these little things that cut him down and kind of position him. Adam Driver had said in an interview that when he was sold on Force Awakens, was that Kylo was going to start off conflicted about good and evil in the first movie. And then as he goes through the trilogies, at the end, he has no conflict. He's pure evil. The opposite of the Anakin Skywalker storyline.
That would have been so much better.
Right? But when you made him wishy-washy and then Rey is also wishy-washy, Rey's like, I don't know, maybe I'm good, maybe I'm bad. Look at Dark Rey. I don't know what, that's a little hard. I thought it would have been really cool if Kylo had been just like pure evil, no doubt. Killing Han Solo feels pretty irredeemable. And then Rey and Luke, they're kind of the last relationship here. And some of the best parenting, I think, in the sequel trilogy is the ghost Luke stuff with Rey, where he kind of like, she goes to maroon herself on Ahch-To, and he's a ghost in Rise of Skywalker. And he, and Rey wants to throw it all away like Luke did. She wants to hide on that island. And he kind of tells her like, no, you're making a mistake. You have to go face the Emperor. You have to save the universe. And so he says like, no, you're making a big mistake, which is kind of JJ's way of saying Rian Johnson made a huge mistake with what he said in Last Jedi.
Facts.
I have issues with
That's
that.
right. And then I also really enjoyed Yoda thrown in here as another grandfather figure. And being cryptic with your kids, I think, is a fun parenting tip. Don't say no. If your kids are like, can we have ice cream? Give them a riddle and then see how they handle that.
Isn't it just the way that Yoda talks that makes everything into a riddle?
Right? Like a circular talking, and then if you say no, they're going to be like, oh man, and then, they'll fight you on it.
Page turns, they were not. Ice cream you may have. I don't think he knows either.
Exactly. And the last one is kind of a throwaway one. And I thought the sequel trilogy, there's parenting stuff in there, but a lot of it felt completely flip-flop. When we changed writers and directors, is we had Force Awakens, and then Last Jedi completely flipped what these relationships were. And then Rise of Skywalker flipped them back. It's kind of hard when when we say that the Palpatine was Snoke all along. Palpatine was the Vader voice that Kylo was hearing. He bridged their minds in the Force and made them a Force dyad. All that just gets kind of crazy. But I think Rey turned out to be a Palpatine. So really, the grandfather in this is Palpatine too. And I wonder what Palpatine's deal is.
Sure.
Like, I always roll my eyes when he's like, strike me down and take my power. How many times does this guy want to get struck down by people?
Yeah.
Lots.
Lots. This is his exit strategy. He wants to retire. He's begging to retire from the weight of the Empire. So come on, just leave it to Vader. Go back on Naboo, get a little timeshare, get a 1-floor apartment. Come on, Palpatine.
I think on a philosophical Star Wars level, and this might be a good place to kind of wrap up everything, right? So I think on a philosophical level, Palpatine is so committed to the Sith lore, and you have to probably know a ton of other Star Wars, canon for this, but Palpatine is so committed to this idea of the Sith running the universe for decades and generations or whatever, right? That he knows that if he's struck down, that his essence will flood into whoever. Like in Return of the Jedi, he basically tells Luke, kill me. And if it wasn't for Vader, Luke would have killed him, right? Maybe, and we don't see whether Palpatine was going to allow that to happen. I kind of believe he does because, again, if we're taking the sequel trilogy as canon, right? He wants Rey to kill him. So maybe that's something that only Palpatine knows. I don't know. They really screwed up the movies by having this flip-flopping director and scriptwriter and stuff. Like, maybe Colin Trevorrow would have made a better movie. He probably would have.
Ooh, hot take.
I will say, and I know we're kind of deviating a little bit here from DOS, but there's a lot of interesting backstory that's going on through Mando, but now also Bad Batch, with cloning and all of these Imperial experiments that are going on. Because in this season of Bad Batch, it's really interesting. There's this really secret cloning project called Project Necromancer, and the Emperor comes specifically to this secret laboratory where they're cloning something special, and it's not just soldiers. My suspicion is he's trying to clone like Sith or Jedi, and you see a little bit of this, right, in the secret labs and things in Mando, in the Imperial, what they were trying to do. So there are all these these really like weird, if you go back to Germany in World War II, secret experiments, right, that were happening. They're sprinkling them through this canon now. So it's going to be really interesting if they reveal if they were like trying to clone the Emperor, because the Emperor says in this episode, this is the most important project to ensuring the Empire's continuity, and you will have all the resources at your command. So it's really interesting, like, just the lineage and how much Palpatine wants to continue that paternity, like in royalty and things, right? Think about that in the terms of like fatherhood, right? That he wants the Sith as this entity, this legacy to live on, and doing anything he can to ensure it.
So what you're trying to say, somehow Palpatine returned.
I'm thinking they're going to explain the reasons for it, maybe. I don't know. Or like what actually happened or something. I don't know. It's interesting, though.
We shall see.
Yes.
One of the things that we touched a little bit on this Star Wars Dad's on Screen thing is this Mando Grogu relationship. And I mean, that might be the most wholesome of the dad-kid relationships. Like Mando, he's not a natural father, but he's a natural father, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he came into his Mandalorian prime wanting to be some sort of parent. But for some reason, with this Grogu relationship, it just brings something out of him.
It is the cutest fatherhood relationship in the Star Wars canon.
Oh, yes.
Facts.
Yeah. And I think you also get to see him parent. Like, yes. A lot of this other parenting is done off screen. It's like Owen, we kind of know the relationship, right. Owen and Luke, or, Han and Kylo, you just get a moment with them. But I really thought that Mando was a time where you see him actively parenting.
Get that shifter out of your mouth.
Right? Yeah.
Don't eat that egg from the.
Don't touch the thermostat. Literally, this is the Star Wars of don't touch the thermostat. Don't put the ship in hyperspace.
Yeah, and one that always pops up for me in Mando is that I'm my child's protector.
Yes.
It's like babies are just constantly doing things that are going to get them killed. They're like almost falling off a couch. They're almost like they just have no protection instincts. And Mando has to constantly be trying to save Grogu. And it's like he's adorable, but
That escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Well, you're your kid's protector. I mean, you're there to keep them alive and keep them
That's true.
safe. And it's a tough job sometimes. A baby can fall off a couch. They are top heavy. They can flip off the couch in a millisecond. You got to get those dad reflexes.
But at least our children are not being hunted by the Empire.
that you know of, right?
I'm pretty sure.
It's not until your homestead's burning and you're a skeleton smoking on the.
I'm pretty
hey,
sure Giancarlo Esposito does not want to take my daughter anywhere, right? But yeah, like I mean, this the whole plot of all 3 seasons is how special Grogu is and how Mando, again, he fell into this parenthood thing, but he's the perfect parent for Grogu. He's the perfect parent for Grogu. The relationship just gels, and I think that if we want to step back from that fourth wall, that is a product, I think, of Favreau and Filoni, who I think have given us the best Star Wars content since the prequels.
It's interesting because his mission, right, in the beginning, is to return him to the Jedi, right, and then Grogu makes that choice. Because obviously it doesn't hurt Mando, but he's doing what he feels is right as a man and as his protector. But then he wants to take him on as his, youngling, right? His actual Mandalorian youngling that we see in the last episode. And that's just so special because at the end, it's kind of like how Indiana Jones should have ended, with the sunset,
right?
And Grogu's playing in the yard, and he's just kicking it up, on his little homestead. And I love that. I love that. I want to see him in a little Mando mask. I got to see it.
It definitely gives us something to look forward to with this Mando movie that's coming out, Mando trilogy of movies, something like that.
I'm there. Be Baby Yoda all over again. I'll buy it all. Yep.
Is it going to be Baby Yoda? Is it going to be like The Simpsons? It's just going to be Maggie,
toddler Yoda?
It's going to be like just never going to grow up.
My only concern is Grogu has this extreme power, and we know he does. Mm-hmm. Now, forgetting Luke's temple in the sequels, right, in the sequel trilogy, like what happens with Grogu when he starts kind of going through Jedi puberty, if you will, right? Like he starts to, now he has his force powers, but as he gets older, and I know he ages a lot slower, but what's going to happen when these powers start to become like that teenage kind of rage? Like think about Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy, like how like petulant Groot was in Guardians Volume 2 and Guardians Volume 3. Like that's what Mando's going to have to deal with Grogu. Like he's going to have to ground him.
Grogu, stop choking that guy.
Don't touch that. Don't eat that frog.
And that's just a little taste of what fatherhood in the Mandoverse is. I mean, there's other things we could talk about, patriarchy and the Mandalorian clans, which there actually isn't any because there's a lot of powerful women in there. But there is this cool relationship of all the Mandalorians and their family. Like it doesn't have to be blood. And I think that's one of the cool things about Star Wars in general. Like it doesn't have to be blood. The family relationships throughout all the Star Wars movies are both blood family and family by choice or family by, circumstance.
Well, the Mandalorians are almost like a village. It almost takes like a village, right? They are a tribe in a lot of ways, right? They take, even if, like you were saying, it's just somebody that's lost in the universe, right? That's the same. That's why Mando connected so much with Grogu, right? Because the Mandalorians saved him when they were attacked on the planet. And so that's how he became a Mandalorian. And therefore, when he saw Grogu, he's like, I cannot turn over this kid to the Empire. This is just not right.
And remember, that Mandalorian kid that was taken by the giant eagle thing, right?
Yes.
When they were in their cave. Like, it wasn't just the dad who went after him. Like, it was like a search party of all the badass Mandalorians.
Yes.
Like, just
awesome.
Going with, like, we have to get this kid.
Just jetpacks and Gatling guns. It was great.
So good. What Star Wars should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Flying Mandalorians. Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us and chatting Star Wars. We could go on for hours, so don't get us started. If you want to find out more about the Three Dimensional Dads, follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at 3Dimensional Dads, or email us at 3dimensionaldads@gmail.com. We want to hear from you.
We love to talk everything geek, parenthood, and tech. So if you want to keep hearing our thoughts on it all, be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast app.
Is there something strange in your neighborhood? Do you feel a chill and it don't look good? On our next episode, we'll review Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Does it live up to the standards of one of the best movies of all time? Or do we feel like we got slimed? Find out on the next episode of Three Dimensional Dads.
Fatherhood in the Next Dimension.